Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to a quick EVE Online discussion video. In today's video I'm in Jita and I only want to talk a little bit about a few things that are happening in EVE Online at the moment. First of all, because CCP released the epeen counter in EVE Online. So if you go to your character sheet now, there will be a counter for your net worth. And yeah, that's the time for marketeers, for grinders, for the Care Bears to try and shine a little bit. So here is my total net worth counter, 42.4 billion ISK in the wallet. Combined assets estimated value 135.5 billion and a few hundred million in market escrow at the moment. This is definitely not all my work. I'm actually a little bit surprised that no one commented on that during one of the previous videos earlier on in the year, but at some point I received an enormous gift from a viewer who had to stop playing EVE to get some other priorities up and running, and he gave me well over 100 billion ISK, both in ISK, PLEX and in assets combined, which of course meant that I had this huge boost in the wallet. Before that I had like 20 billion in the wallet and I was saving up to that point, diversifying a little bit everything that I got above that. But yeah, that just boosted me above 40 billion ISK in liquid ISK in the wallet, but I also got an enormous boost in just my assets and the estimated value. Now, a few things to know about this. There are no corporate assets in this counter. This is purely your wallet and your assets in your inventories. And there are no blueprints in this, which for me also still makes a little bit of a difference, because I have 11 billion ISK in just 2 blueprints for the Raitaru and the Astrahus. I also have a decent amount of blueprints that I already had, including something like a Talos blueprint that's a little bit more expensive, and a few others. But amongst the items that were given to me in the gift are also a lot of blueprints, including a few decently expensive ones. So I would not be surprised that my actual net worth, with everything, with all the blueprints and everything combined, it could come pretty close to 200 billion ISK. So that's me flexing a little bit, showing off a little bit, but yeah, I have to be honest, more than half of this at least comes from a gift from a viewer. So basically it pays to have a YouTube channel. If you're worried about RMT and things like that, I can't really go into details. I'll just say that I've taken what steps I can with CCP to try and ensure that there are no risks to my account. So that is something that everyone, it's up to them to decide what they do. If they get something like a major gift or an extremely good contract on some of those fire sale contracts, or if, for instance, you do a huge corp theft and you watch your total net worth go up all of a sudden, you know, if for any reason you have something that happens completely out of the norm, I'll be honest, let CCP know. You'll feel a little bit safer, and they'll definitely appreciate your heads up as well. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, next to showing off how rich delonewolf is now, well, he's actually not very rich in the grand scheme of things. Keep in mind there are players that are way richer than me. I'm still definitely not up there by any means. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about was PLEX, of course. So let's maybe quickly take a look here. Price history, we can see that PLEX are falling back a little bit. Currently selling, well, actually 1,172 million for the sellers is still up from EVE Talk on Saturday, but it's not going straight into the stratosphere or something like that. It's just starting to be a little bit of trading back and forth at this point. And of course, as you may know, CCP is planning to convert these PLEX items. I have 38 PLEX here at the moment, for instance. They're planning to convert that in chunks of 500 PLEX, so that would be 38 times 500 PLEX. In general, this should be a value neutral activity. So the reason for this increase in price here, is maybe speculation on, I wouldn't call it a CSM leak. I would say the most likely scenario is that a CSM accidentally dropped the fact that CCP has some plans around PLEX, and that got a few people excited, and they decided to buy a few of them. But I don't really see any malice in this, because if you know the details of what CCP is planning to do, basically getting rid of the PLEX as we know them now, turning them into items that are 500 times smaller, and then getting rid of Aurum as well, there is no reason to think that all of a sudden PLEX are going to increase in value because of this. Why is CCP doing it? That's pretty easy to explain. First of all, Aurum, I also never really enjoyed that system. In the New Eden store, you can see I still have a balance of 3,424 Aurum. All of that stuff is gifted by CCP. I just never really bothered, except for the Orca skin that I got. I never even really used the Aurum. I felt like this extra currency didn't really fit in the game, and I never even bothered keeping up with what was happening in the Aurum market. This is just going to make things a lot clearer, a lot easier if you just have ISK and then you just have PLEX, which you could call the micro PLEX now if you want to give it a little bit of a name compared to the PLEX at the moment. The biggest advantage for CCP is of course going to be that they'll be able to offer services that are no longer tied to like a full month subscription. One PLEX is 30 days game time, it's around $15. Everything that they want to do with PLEX always had to be tied around that value. Now they could, for instance, do sales or just offer PLEX packages that would be for $5, maybe even $1 or $10, things like that, compared to just straight up a full PLEX, which I think, look out if you have an addictive personality, that could be pretty dangerous. If you can start plexing up at $1 a time. At a time, yeah, from a business perspective, I think that it makes a lot of sense. And of course, CCP can potentially offer services that are in between what we would consider a full subscription, so a full Omega, and the free-to-play alpha clones. The first thing that popped into my mind was you could have beta clones that have access to the alpha skills of 2 races, delta clones that have access to alpha skills of all the races. You know, there's definitely a few possible in-betweens between free-to-play alpha and full-priced Omega. And of course, we have all of the cosmetics that CCP can do. At the moment, CCP is definitely quite seriously into the skins. There's just a huge amount of them, a lot of variety as well. But I think that, and apparel as well, you know, there's clothes for a character. I think that the next thing that I personally would think is pretty cool is that you could also add some sort of customization on the looks of your citadels, your structures and things like that. I think that's got a huge potential. It's gonna be a lot more work than something like a straight up skin. You know, I would imagine some sort of maybe propaganda towers or structures that would be visible in space, be part of your citadel, for instance, but that would be purely cosmetic, and that is something where they could have like a baseline of some additions to structures that you could make and create in game. But then if you want the fancy stuff, you'll have to buy that with PLEX from CCP. So basically the big advantage is that CCP will be able to offer different kind of services at different price points compared to having to do everything with PLEX that is $15 for 30 days game time. So for me, if you're asking for my opinion on this change in general, I think it's going to be pretty much neutral. I don't think it's bad for the game. I definitely don't think it breaks any of the sandbox rules. It's just going to make everything a little bit more intuitive when it comes to purchasing services from CCP. The vault that they're planning, that's true as well. In your inventory, there would be a special PLEX vault where you could always move your PLEX in that, and then you could move them in full safety. I understand that some people are a bit disappointed by that, but if there is one item that is different from every other item in EVE Online, it is the one that you buy with real life money straight from CCP. And so this is the one exception to the sandbox rules that I can personally understand, especially since there is no need whatsoever to actually move PLEX around at any given time. You can use all the services from anywhere in the universe. So basically making this PLEX vault part of the inventory, I don't mind it as long as it's going to stay only for PLEXs themselves, which really are a unique item. They represent real money when it comes to EVE Online, of course. And on the controversy, I think that there's actually some pretty good news. There was a controversy where CCP announced that they would not reimburse Aurum leftovers of less than 1,000 Aurum in the wallet. That is going to change. So there's actually a dev blog that was launched on, well, the day of recording, March 31st. And they are going to convert those small Aurum balances into the micro PLEX as well, but they will delay this. So CCP's major worry is still that converting all of that Aurum, including a lot of freely gifted Aurum, straight into PLEX could flood the market and could actually cause some problems when it comes to the value of PLEX themselves. And honestly, I sort of agree with that, knowing that even the big balances are going to be converted to PLEX. A lot of that, or at least some of that, is bound to come to the market as supply, which is why I cannot see this increase in price, this price jump here, as an actual CSM leak meant to be malicious, meant to profit of insider knowledge or anything like that, because we already know that PLEX was under pressure a little bit. You can see that in November, December, January. Starting after FanFest, unless there are big bombshells that are dropped there, we usually go to a summer slump. So there was already serious pressure on the PLEX market to go lower and add more supply from all the Aurum conversions. I actually cannot see the increase in value of PLEX, so I cannot see how anyone that would buy on this upswing would actually make a profit on that after the conversion happens, because I actually think that they're going to lose money, well, ISK on that. Okay. Well, since we're talking about PLEX and real life money, let's call it ISK. In-game value I don't think is going to go up. I just can't see that happening. Yes, the plan for CCP now is to convert all balances above 1,000 Aurum into PLEX tokens when the change hits. When the changes hit, and 3 months later convert the smaller Aurum balances into tokens as well, so that none of that is basically lost by anyone, so that accidentally someone that has purchased Aurum with real money and that doesn't have a small balance left from gifts is basically losing out on what they pay to CCP. I think it's a good suggestion, a good solution as well. Another thing to keep in mind is that in the store, which I think is going to close, I think there might be a completely differences. I'm not exactly sure about that, but they are going to run special sales, special offers, so that people are encouraged to actually use up their Aurum before any of that happens as well. And let's see if I can find it on the market. I didn't know about this myself, but look at that. There are actually items existing on the market called Aurum tokens, which is something that CCP offered at one point, but it's not offered anymore. So one thing to keep in mind, I think if you have those in your inventory, you can just right click them, turn them into an Aurum balance. This is something that they're not going to do for you. So here CCP is trying to still get rid of a little bit of value of potentially stuff that was bought by people. If this stuff is still in your inventory when the changes hit, I think you're going to lose your Aurum tokens. Maybe it's after the 3 months delay as well, so that they give people ample time to do that conversion, but they're not going to turn these tokens into PLEX tokens. At least that's what I got from the follow-up dev blog on all of these changes. And was there anything else of note? Yes. One thing that's actually really important for people that are playing the market when it comes to PLEX. At first, CCP said that if you would want to sell one of those, let's take a quick look at that. If you would want to sell one of those, let's look at sell item. You can see that you're paying broker's fees and sales tax. I think it was only for the broker fees. Obviously, you're paying broker fees on something that is valued at more than 1 billion ISK, which makes for a pretty hefty broker's fee of 29 million. If PLEX then get converted into the micro PLEX that are 500 large, that from that day on, basically the price of these PLEX can be expected to be cut into 500, of course, just 1 in 500 of the previous value. And so people that would then still have sell orders of those PLEX on the longer terms that cross over the conversion date, yeah, they could be in for having paid a really enormous broker's fee at a very bad time for an item that's just not even worth that much anymore. And at first CCP was planning to reimburse that, but it seems like they made a little bit of a mistake. It's not possible to reimburse those broker's fees. So that means that if you're actively trading in PLEX, keep a very close eye on when CCP is actually going to change the plexes into the micro plexes, and make sure that you don't have orders that are hanging when that hits. Just try and time those. And CCP is actually kind enough to give us a little bit of a ballpark where they're aiming for this change. It's not set in stone, so keep in mind all of that is subject to change. But they're aiming for a little bit after FanFest, so late spring or early summer, to actually do this PLEX conversion. So the follow-up devlog, I think, is going to answer all the, I would say, legitimate worries and complaints that the player base had when this was first announced. It's just basically about the leftover Orem under 1,000 that people were not happy with. I can understand that, and so CCP is actually offering what I think is a fair solution to that. And other than that, be careful when it comes to PLEX and know that those changes are coming. So there you go, guys. That's it for this discussion video. Thank you very much for watching. I would love to know your estimated net value. Actually, I'm a little bit curious about that. And I would, of course, also like to know your ideas and thoughts when it comes to the changes to the PLEX system that CCP is planning to do for the game. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.